Welcome back to another episode of The Real Deal, where we come at you with things the real mainstream media won't come at you with. You know, the ones owned by all the corporations that have an agenda. So today I want to talk about the murder of Rob Reiner. He was stabbed to death along with his wife in their home, and it took a little bit to figure out what happened, but they have arrested his son Nick on it. I believe his son's about 35 or so. Reiner was in his 70s. And they're basically, he's locked away, no bail. It was $4 million bail, but now it's no bail because, he probably has friends and connections. He could get $4 million real easily. So here's what we know. Immediately, right away, people started talking about it, spreading rumors and stuff, until his son got caught and charged with it. A lot of people don't know much about his son. A lot of people don't know much about Reiner except his political views. And that, he's done a lot of producing, directing, and starred as Meathead in Michael Stivic back in All in the Family days with Carol O'Connor. It was a good show. Conservative Carol, who was a real liberal in real life, a very hardcore left Democrat, but he didn't let none of that get to him like Rob Reiner did. A lot of people, you either loved Reiner or you hated him. And mainly that was because of his spouting of the political views and stuff. So after he was murdered, Donald Trump came out and said a few things on his Truth social media, and it was disparaging things against Rob Reiner. And, much as you don't want to hear it, Trump said what he felt. He told what he felt. He didn't lie. He didn't sugarcoat it. Like a lot of these guys will be like, oh no, like when Charlie Kirk died, there were people like, oh no, poor Charlie. Poor Charlie, for the past few years, you've been bashing him on Twitter, But then the politicians like, oh, it's horrible. Yes, it was horrible. Now, I wasn't a big Charlie Kirk fan, but what happened to him was horrific. I'm not a Rob Reiner fan. What happened to him was horrific. Nobody deserves that. Unless there are underlying circumstances that we don't know about, where then we find out that they do deserve that. So after Trump said his thing, everybody went off on him and stuff, and everybody was starting to bash Trump as usual. And, they were building Reiner up as an honorable person and stuff. And I pointed out to some of them, I'm like, do you remember what he said when Trump got shot? That he wished a bullet when it went into his head, into his brain, and killed him. Do you guys remember that? And they're like, well, that was different. No, it wasn't different. Somebody tried to kill somebody, and I remember these same people, a lot of them were hoping that Trump would have been killed on it. Then they said it was all fake. The shooting was all fake and staged and everything like that. And I'm like, okay, tell that to the innocent person in the crowd near Trump that died. I don't think it was fake, people, They said, oh, they just did it to make him look good and stuff. And people like Reiner were saying that too. Okay, you can have your own thoughts and opinion. That's what makes America great. You have freedom of speech and freedom of thoughts and beliefs to a point nowadays. It's not like it used to be, that's for sure. But these same people that were bashing Charlie Kirk when he died and were celebrating him just like they were hoping Trump would have been killed, these are the same people that are talking about honoring Rob Reiner. And I remember everything, which is a blessing and a curse, so I call it a blurse. It's part of what I am and who I am. And it's been like that forever. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes you're like, oh, I wish I could forget about that. But then you got to be careful what you wish for. So I remember all these people saying all this stuff, and I asked them, I said, now, how would you feel if someone said stuff about Rob Reiner? Well, that would be wrong. What Trump said was wrong. This, that, I said, doesn't have anything to do with Trump. How would you feel if somebody just came out of the woodwork and said bad stuff about Reiner and him getting murdered like this and saying he deserved it? Of course, they're all upset about it and stuff. And people, let me tell you, the TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome, is a real disease. It's crazy. But, and a lot of people have it. And it's like, I tell them, it's like, it's not that you like Rob Reiner, it's just that you hate Trump. Now, what if Rob Reiner was friends with Donald Trump? What if he was a conservative Republican? Oh, they'd be happy he died. They would. And that's what's wrong with people. If it's their people, their beliefs, then, oh, it's horrific. But when it's somebody else and you don't believe in them and you don't like them, somebody like Charlie Kirk, an innocent man, he didn't do anything wrong. But then they're happy. And they're still talking about it. They're still mocking him. They're still saying bad things about the guy. Like I said, I wasn't a big Charlie Kirk fan, but, here's how I feel. If he came to a college in my city and was speaking, I'm not going to go. I'm not interested. I'm not going to go because I don't like him. There's a lot of people and politicians I don't like. I don't care for. If they come to my town, I'm not giving them the time of day. I'm not wasting my time on them. I'm not going to go up there and argue with them and debate with them. I don't care. You're not going to change their mind. You're not going to. Charlie Kirk went around talking about Jesus. Jesus himself could come down and get right in these people's face and say, hi, I'm Jesus, and perform miracles and show all this proof and stuff. And these people still aren't going to believe him. That's just how it is, people. You're not going to convince anybody. Just like when you fight with them on Facebook. Has anybody ever said, oh, that's a good point. You know what? I understand that. I'm going to quit hating this group of people now. They've done nothing wrong. How dare I buy into all this free Palestine crap and things like that? You're not going to change their minds, people. Here's the deal, too, and this is how dumb people are in our society. They have their beliefs, and that's okay. But if their person, all right, let's say Joe Biden was a huge supporter of Israel and didn't like Palestine. These people on the left, they wouldn't like him at all. They wouldn't like him. Donald Trump supports Israel. Donald Trump helps them. Donald Trump gives money, sells them weapons. Joe Biden cut them off. But what if Joe Biden started selling stuff and was like, I love Israel? These people would hate him. They would hate him. That's how they are, because they don't like Israel because they're taught not to. This is just an example, one example of could be thousands of things. They are puppets. Most of the people in this world are puppets. You're not going to change their minds, people. Why waste your time? So, and I'm not trying to change anybody's mind here. I'm just trying to wake you up and let you see reality as it really is. I'm telling you the truth. And right now I'm dealing with the death of Rob Reiner and what happened. So now you're seeing all these articles online, and there's magazines and things like that. There's still magazines left out there, people. Trust me. Not very many, but they're out there. Does Playboy even make a magazine anymore? Huh. I have to ask my buddy Turner about that. Anyway, so going back to Reiner here, you're seeing all this stuff. They're glorifying him and they're bashing his son. But they're not telling you everything about his son. They're not telling you stuff. They're sitting there saying they got a big fight at Conan O'Brien's party the night before and he got stabbed that night and everything else. It's like, but Conan O'Brien said that never happened. He said he didn't see Nick acting funny or strange or weird like they were reporting. The media needs to sell stuff, people. They want you to go to their website, their Facebook page, and click on those freaking ads, man. Or subscribe to read it. Man, give me a break. Y'all billion-dollar companies let people have that stuff for free. But anyway, they're printing all this stuff, building him up, and they're trying to break his son down and stuff. And, he was on drugs. He did this. He was that, And it's like, well, here's the deal. You can't go to Rob Reiner and say anything and ask about it because he's dead now, So you can't say anything other than what you've already known about him. But if you look at his Twitter history and some of the things he said and some of the things he said in interviews and stuff, I mean, he hated Trump. So the people that hate Trump liked him. Like I said, if he was Trump's buddy, they'd hate him. That's how it goes. That's how deranged a lot of these people really are, man. But, it's like he was like, F Donald Trump, F this. I wish he'd die and stuff. Oh, that's ouch. That's horrible. I wouldn't want anybody to say that about me, whether they like me or not. That's very rude. But there's not a lot being said about his son except his drug history that everybody's known about for years. And his dad worked on him. They made a movie basically about it, and his dad worked with it and stuff. It's like you're basically making money off this problem your kid had, man. But let's go back and look at little Nick, man. And, here's something, too. Nick's in jail. He's alive in jail. Has anybody asked him, did you kill him? If so, why? Because I think there might be some underlying issues there that we don't know about, that he might come out and talk about. And it's his word versus a dead man, but makes you wonder, why? Why in all his life has he been so out of it, so strange, so strung out on drugs? Why has he had this problem? I mean, his dad's estate is worth over $200 million. He comes from money. He's never had to work a day in his life. His grandpa was rich. They've all come from money. Rob Reiner came from money. They never worked. They never struggled. They have several houses all over the country. They have houses in other countries, They have resorts. They have private jets, anything they need. So why is this kid struggling so much? Why? Because he's entitled? He's an entitled little brat? When he was 15 years old, people, and this is all true, by the way, he was in rehab for hard drugs. Now, how many 15-year-olds do you know go into rehab for hard drugs? I know people that live in the hood that have no parents, might have a mom, they have parents strung out on crack, and they don't end up like that. They have absolutely nothing. But you don't see them going into rehab at 15. You see them trying to do what they can because they're learning from the bad examples. So, to me, when you're at 15, I see a lot of young girls back in the day, and I still see it today. They'll go out and be promiscuous because they're seeking daddy's attention. They don't get the love at home, so they go looking for a guy or even a girl now. And it's like they want any attention, so they say they're gay. So you'll see guys or girls, they'll say they're gay just to get any attention. Even negative is some kind of attention. And a lot of people do that. A lot of kids do that. They're not really gay. They just know it's going to piss their mom and dad off, so they come out and say it. It's like, Dad, I'm gay. I'll kill you, Oh, great. At least he's paying attention to me. That's how it goes. So when he's 15 and he's a millionaire, basically, and he's set to inherit all this stuff, he doesn't have to do anything. Is he being a privileged brat doing all these hard drugs? Or do you think maybe he was just trying to act out? Maybe he had a lot of mental problems. Maybe something happened. Maybe some bad stuff happened to him from his parents when he was a kid. We don't know. But I hope we find out. But it's like, you're 15 and you're in a rehab for hard drugs. And I'm not talking weed and meth. We're talking coke and heroin. We're talking some extremely hardcore drugs, To me, that tells me he was reaching out for something. He was looking for love and attention. Because he probably wasn't getting it. Because Daddy was probably always on the road producing and directing. And, he didn't have anybody. He probably had au pairs taking care of him, The Mexican cleaning lady was probably a mom to him, more of a mom than his real mom. I mean, we don't know, people, what drove him to do this. This just didn't happen overnight. This was brought out in him. When you look at him, you can tell there's something wrong with him. And you look at pictures of him over the years, he had some mental health problems. And what drove him to do what he did? What caused him to do it? That's what I want to know. I like to know, we know what people did, but I like to know why they did it. And let's ask them, people. I mean, you got Charlie Kirk's murderer sitting in jail still. You don't hear much about him anymore. You hardly hear anything except when he goes to court. Ask him why he did it. Maybe he'll tell you the truth. Maybe he'll tell you he didn't act alone. Maybe he'll tell you he was set up. Maybe he'll tell you, I hated Charlie Kirk and what he believed in. Cool. I mean, it's not cool, but, at least he told the truth. And maybe if you ask Rob Reiner's son, he'll say, my dad did this to me when I was a little kid and I never forgot it and it messed me up. My mom did this. My sister did this. My uncle did this. We don't know, people. So here's the deal. Y'all got to stop loving somebody just because he's on your so-called side. Because you don't know what kind of a person that guy is. And we might find out some things. And then what are you going to do? You still going to stick up for Reiner? I hope not. I hope if he did bad things, you don't. But, that's how people are. You'll probably still make excuses for him. It's like, well, we can't ask him because he's gone. I mean, yes, his son has proof and evidence, but that's different. I don't know if you ever watched South Park, but they spoofed on him one year. And it was funny because they knew what a hypocrite he was. They knew he would always be running his mouth talking about helping others, but he didn't do anything to help anybody. He just ran his mouth, always went off on Twitter and stuff. And they called him out on there for his hypocrisy and his left-wing politics and some of the stupid stuff he did. And it was funny because it was true. Like I said, I've never been a fan of him, even way back in the day when he would spout off about whoever he could. He would protect and stick up for people that are horrible people. You know, he probably stuck up for Epstein. I wouldn't be surprised if his name's on the list. Wouldn't shock me a bit, people. But anyway, his son's sitting in jail for murder right now. I want to know why. And I want people to quit saying Rob Reiner was a great man. Like I said, if he was friends with Trump, you wouldn't like him. Y'all need to stop being hypocrites. That has to stop, man. Stay tuned to more from The Real Deal.